If you let me die outside your gate, Adrian Cole, you'll never learn who betrayed your father." Those were the first words I ever said to the most feared man in Chicago. Rain ran down my face as I stood beneath the iron gates of his estate, one hand wrapped around the handle of my mother's battered leather suitcase. Behind the gates, 3 armed men stared at me. None looked surprised that I knew Adrian's name. They looked surprised I had spoken his father's. Lightning split the sky. "Name," the guard demanded. "Claire Bennett." "What's in the case?" "Something your boss has been searching 17 years for." That changed everything. 10 minutes later, I stood inside a marble foyer large enough to swallow my apartment whole. My coat dripped onto the polished floor. The suitcase remained against my leg. Then the room went quiet. Not because someone ordered it. Because Adrian Cole had entered. Black shirt. Dark trousers. No tie. 35, maybe. Black hair swept back from a face too controlled to reveal anything useful. He didn't look like a man who needed to prove he was dangerous. Everyone else did it for him. His steel-gray eyes moved from my face to the suitcase. "You used my father's name." His voice was quiet. I understood immediately why people feared him. "Yes. Daniel Cole has been dead 17 years. "I know." A guard stepped closer. Adrian raised one finger. The man stopped. That tiny gesture frightened me more than shouting would have. Adrian studied me. "What do you want?" "One night." His expression didn't change. "Shelter until sunrise. In exchange, I tell you who betrayed your family." Silence. Then Adrian almost smiled. "People have invented better lies to get inside this house. I didn't come here to convince you." I placed the suitcase on the floor. "I came because the men following me will eventually reach your gate." That got his attention. Barely. But I saw it. His gaze sharpened. "How many?" "2 cars when I crossed Cicero. One after I turned onto your road." He looked toward a man near the staircase. "Michael." The man disappeared without another word. Adrian looked back at me. "Who sent you?" "My mother." "Where is she?" "Dead." Something cold moved behind his eyes. "What was her name?" My fingers tightened around the suitcase. "Rebecca Bennett." Nothing. Then a glass shattered behind me. I turned. An older man stood near the library doors, staring at me as if the dead had just walked into Adrian Cole's house. Adrian noticed. Of course he noticed. "Victor." The man recovered quickly. Too quickly. My hand slipped. But the hand that had been holding the glass was completely dry. I looked back at Adrian. He was already watching Victor. That was when I understood something important. Adrian Cole missed very little. Thunder rolled over the estate. A moment later, Michael returned. "Boss." Adrian waited. "We found the car." My stomach tightened. "Occupants." "Gone." Michael placed something on the table. A photograph. My photograph. Taken earlier that evening. Someone had drawn a red circle around my face. Underneath it were 4 handwritten words. "She has Rebecca's case." Adrian's eyes dropped to the suitcase beside me. Then to Victor. Then back to me. "Open it." "No." Every man in the room went still. Adrian stepped closer. I could hear the rain striking the windows behind him. "You came into my house carrying something men are willing to kill for." I came offering a trade. His eyes held mine. "What trade?" I swallowed. "The truth for one night." "And if I refuse?" I looked toward the storm outside, then at the photograph of my own face. "They'll kill me." I pushed the suitcase toward him. "And by morning, they'll start killing you." For the first time, Adrian Cole's expression changed. Not fear. Recognition. He looked at the faded initials burned into the leather beneath the handle. DC. His father's initials. Then he whispered the question my mother had warned me he would eventually ask. "Where did you get Daniel Cole's suitcase?" "Because your father gave it to my mother 3 days before someone killed him." The silence afterward felt heavier than the storm. Adrian didn't touch the suitcase. He stared at me. Across the foyer, Victor Hale had gone pale. "How do you know that?" Adrian asked. "My mother told me." "When?" 3 hours before she died." That wasn't entirely true, but I wasn't ready to give him everything. Not yet. Adrian's eyes narrowed as if he could hear the missing pieces between my words. "Open it." I already said no. Michael shifted near the staircase. Adrian didn't. That frightened me more. "You came to my home asking for protection. Shelter. There's a difference?" "Yes. Protection creates debt." For several seconds, he simply watched me. Then something almost like approval crossed his face. "Smart." "No. Scared." "Scared people usually lie badly." I looked toward Victor. Then maybe you should ask why he lied about dropping that glass. Victor's expression hardened. You walk into this house carrying Daniel's property and start making accusations. I didn't accuse you. I met his eyes. You did that yourself. Adrian turned slightly. Victor. One word. A warning. Victor fell silent. Adrian finally crouched beside the suitcase. His fingers stopped over the faded DC, burned into the leather. For the first time, the Mafia Boss disappeared. For half a second, I saw a sun. Then it was gone. Open it, Claire. This time I did. The locks clicked. Inside were three things. A burned accounting ledger, a Polaroid wrapped in wax paper, and a sealed envelope. Adrian reached for the photograph. I caught his wrist. Every man in the room moved. Adrian raised his other hand. They froze. His eyes dropped to my fingers around him. I released him. My mother left instructions. The photograph first. Nothing else until I'm safe, until sunrise. You're negotiating with me in my own house. Yes. Do you understand who I am? That's why I came. Something changed between us then. Not trust. Recognition. He took the photograph. Daniel Cole stood beside a black Lincoln, younger than I had ever seen him in newspaper archives. My mother stood beside him. And behind them, Victor. Adrian's jaw tightened. Victor stepped forward. That proves nothing. Rebecca worked for Daniel. My head snapped toward him. I had never told anyone my mother's first name except Adrian. Adrian noticed too. The room became very still. You knew her, I said. Victor realized his mistake. Too late. She handled financial records. For how long? He hesitated. 2 years. Adrian looked at him. You told me everyone working for my father that year was investigated. They were. Then why have I never heard her name? Victor had no answer. A phone vibrated. Michael checked it. His expression changed. Boss. North Gate. Adrian took the phone. Security footage showed a dark sedan abandoned outside the estate. Driver's door open. Engine running. On the passenger seat sat another photograph. Adrian enlarged it. My mother. Taken 17 years ago. Someone had written across her face. She should have stayed dead. My breath stopped. Adrian looked at Victor. Then at the burned ledger. Lock the estate. The gates closed outside with a distant metallic thunder. Victor stepped forward. Adrian, think carefully. This woman could have been sent here. I am thinking. His voice became quieter. Everyone stopped moving. Adrian looked at me. You wanted one night? Yes. You have it. Relief lasted exactly 1 heartbeat. Then he turned to Michael. No one leaves. Victor stiffened. Adrian picked up the photograph again. And find out who knew Rebecca Bennett was inside my father's house 17 years ago. I stared at him. My mother's name wasn't Bennett then. Adrian slowly turned back. I reached into the suitcase and removed the sealed envelope. Across its yellowed surface, my mother had written a name I had spent my entire life never hearing. Rebecca Hale. Victor's face emptied. Adrian looked from the envelope to the man he had trusted for decades. Then to me. Hale. I nodded. My mother was Victor's sister. Your mother was my sister. Victor said it like a confession he had spent 17 years preparing to deny. I stared at him. The storm pressed against the windows. You knew I existed? His silence answered first. Something inside me went cold. My mother died 8 months ago. You never called. Never came. Never even sent flowers. Claire, don't. Adrian stood between us without actually moving. He watched Victor the way a chess player watches a piece suddenly appear where it should never have been. When did you last see Rebecca? He asked. 17 years ago. Before my father died? Victor hesitated. Before. Adrian's eyes hardened. Specific answers. 3 days before. I looked at the Polaroid. 3 days. The same photograph. The same suitcase. Nothing was separate anymore. Victor claimed Rebecca had handled financial records for Daniel Cole. After Daniel's murder, she disappeared. Victor said he assumed she was dead. You assumed? I asked. She vanished with people looking for her. Which people? The Marconis. Adrian's gaze shifted. Victor continued quickly. They killed Daniel. Rebecca probably saw something. She ran. It sounded clean. Too clean. My mother had taught me that lies were often polished more carefully than truth. I opened the burned ledger. Most pages were blackened at the edges, but columns of numbers remained visible. Dates. Transfers. Initials. Adrian moved beside me. Not touching. Watching. I noticed several entries had tiny dots beneath certain numbers. My mother used that mark. Adrian looked at me. For what? She restored damaged photographs for years. When she cataloged something she wanted to find again, she marked it underneath. I followed the dots. Page 12, 26, 41. Free transfers. Same destination code. Same authorization. VH Victor laughed once. Sharp. Humorless. You think initials prove murder? No, Adrian said. His voice was almost gentle. I think your fear proves I should keep looking. Victor's face tightened. Then Michael entered. Boss. We traced the sedan. Adrian turned. Registered. Stolen. But whoever drove it knew our camera positions. That landed differently. The estate had not been randomly approached. Someone knew Adrian's security. Someone close. Adrian gave Michael a look I couldn't read. Michael nodded once and left. Victor stepped toward him. You're letting a stranger turn you against your own people. Adrian looked at me. She stopped being a stranger when you knew her mother. Victor went silent. For reasons I didn't understand, that sentence frightened me and comforted me. Adrian closed the ledger. You'll stay here tonight. I asked for shelter, not imprisonment. The doors aren't locked. Your gates are. They're keeping someone out. He paused. Not you in. I hated that the distinction mattered. I hated more that I believed him. Then I remembered the suitcase lining. My mother had sewn it twice. Once normally. Once by hand. I pulled a small knife from the restoration kit in my coat. 3 guards immediately reached beneath their jackets. Adrian didn't blink. I cut the lining. Something metallic dropped onto the marble. A brass key, stamped with 2 characters. C. 417. Adrian crouched and picked it up. His expression changed. What? He turned the key between his fingers. Chicago Central Bank. Victor moved toward us. Too fast. Adrian stood. Victor stopped. Adrian's voice dropped. Why do you care about a key you've never seen? I don't. Another lie. Adrian slipped the key into his pocket. Then he looked at Michael, who had returned to the doorway. Send Victor home. Victor stared at him. In this storm? You wanted the stranger outside my house. Adrian's eyes became ice. Tonight, I'd rather know what happens when everyone believes she's still inside. I understood. A trap. Victor understood too. And for the first time, my uncle looked afraid. Hours later, another message reached Adrian. The safe house Victor had been told I was moving to had been attacked. Nobody else knew the address. Adrian placed the phone between us. I stared at the screen, then at him. He spoke quietly. We don't have a family mystery anymore, Claire. Thunder shook the windows. We have a traitor. If Victor knew about the safe house, then either he betrayed you, or you just told a traitor exactly what you suspect. Adrian looked at me across the dark study. Both can be useful. That was when I understood how he survived. He didn't react to danger. He arranged it. By 9 the next morning, the storm had weakened to gray rain. Adrian took me to Chicago Central Bank with Michael driving and 2 vehicles following at a distance. Victor was told I remained at the estate. Another test. Box 417 required my signature and the brass key. Inside was a narrow metal container covered in 17 years of dust. My hands shook when I opened it. A cassette recorder. 3 photographs. Fragments of another ledger. And an envelope marked in my mother's handwriting. If Daniel dies. Adrian stopped breathing for a second. I opened it. The letter was short. Daniel had discovered money disappearing through companies that officially did not exist. Someone inside his organization was moving coal funds, then using those same accounts to pay people connected to the Marconi family. My mother had copied everything. One sentence had been underlined twice. The betrayal is coming from inside the house. Adrian took the ledger fragments. His eyes moved across the numbers. Still active. What? He pointed to a company name. North Star Freight Holdings. I saw this account last month. My stomach tightened. This didn't end with your father. No, his voice became colder. It grew. Michael called their finance team immediately. While he worked, I inserted the cassette into the recorder. Static filled the vault room. Then my mother spoke. If Adrian is hearing this, Daniel is probably dead. Adrian went completely still. I tried to warn him. He trusted the wrong person. The man responsible is someone Adrian will never believe could betray him. A sound came through the recording. A door opening. My mother inhaled sharply. Then the tape ended. No name. No explanation. Just silence. I shut my eyes. She ran. She survived, Adrian corrected. She left your father. She had you. I looked at him. His expression remained unreadable. People without children think courage always means staying, he said. Sometimes it means getting one person out alive. For the first time since entering his house, I forgot to be afraid of him. Michael's phone rang. He listened, then looked at Adrian. North Star moved $6 million from Cole accounts 8 days ago. To whom? Marconi Logistics. Brief relief vanished. The old betrayal was financing a current war. Adrian stood. Freeze every account touching North Star. Quietly. Move our shipments off registered routes. Tell the captains nothing. Michael nodded. And Victor? Adrian's eyes settled on the recorder. Tell him we found an empty box. A trap inside a trap. Back in the car, I examined the photographs. One showed Daniel outside a warehouse. Another showed my mother entering a bank. The third seemed useless, an empty street reflected in a storefront window. Then I noticed the reflection. A man stood beside Daniel's car. The image was damaged across his face, but his left hand was visible. A heavy signet ring. I had seen that ring last night. On Victor. Before I could speak, Michael's phone rang again. This time his face changed. Boss. Adrian waited. One of our cash shipments disappeared 20 minutes ago. Route. Halstead. Adrian's jaw tightened. Only 4 people had known the revised route. Michael continued. And Vincent Marconi just sent a message. What does he want? A meeting. Adrian looked at me. Why now? Michael swallowed. Because he says he knows who killed your father. Then he added the part that turned my blood cold. And he says Claire's mother helped cover it up. If Marconi knew Rebecca was my mother, and knew I was under Adrian's protection now, someone had fed him fresh information. Adrian said nothing. That silence was his answer. He left me at the estate with Michael while he met Vincent Marconi at a closed restaurant near the river. I hated staying behind, but Adrian wasn't going there to protect me. He was going to find out who was dismantling his empire from the inside. Before leaving, he placed the damaged photograph beside me. Restore the reflection. And if it's Victor? His eyes became still. Then I stopped asking whether he betrayed me. He buttoned his coat. I start finding out who betrayed me with him. 3 hours later, I was still working. I increased contrast around the windshield, rebuilt damaged shadows, separated scratches from the original exposure. Slowly, a face emerged. Victor Hale, my uncle, standing beside Daniel Cole's car hours before Daniel died. Then I saw something worse. Victor wasn't alone. A second man stood behind him, too damaged to identify. But on his coat was a small emblem. A lion. Michael leaned closer. His expression hardened. Marconi. My stomach dropped. So they were involved. Maybe. He sounded unconvinced. Adrian returned 20 minutes later. He entered the room without removing his coat. One look at his face told me the meeting had changed something. What did Marconi say? Adrian placed photocopied bank records on the table. He didn't kill my father. Michael stared at him. Adrian continued. His uncle supplied men. Someone else paid them. He tapped the page. North Star Freight Holdings. The same company from my mother's ledger. Victor. I whispered. Not proven. Even now. Facts first. Pain later. That was Adrian. Why would Marconi tell you? Because Victor promised him 3 Cole territories when I'm gone. The words landed cold. And Marconi thinks Victor will betray him afterward, I said. Adrian looked at me. Exactly. Vincent wasn't helping us. He was positioning himself to survive whichever side won. For one breath, the mystery seemed smaller. Then Adrian noticed the restored photograph. He stared at Victor's face. 17 years of loyalty disappeared behind his eyes. Not dramatically. Quietly. That was worse. He raised me after my father died, Adrian said. I didn't know what comfort could possibly fit inside that sentence. So I said nothing. Minutes passed. Finally, he sat beside me. Not Mafia Boss and stranger. Just 2 people whose dead parents had left them the same wound. Everyone around me wants something, he said. I want something. His eyes met mine. The truth. A faint, bitter smile touched his mouth. That may be worse. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. A scheduled message appeared with a voicemail attachment. The timestamp showed it had been recorded shortly before my mother died, then held by a dead man's service until someone accessed her sealed records. I pressed play. My mother's voice filled the room. Weak. Breathless. Claire, if Adrian Cole ever finds you, listen carefully. The suitcase will make him question his enemies. The truth will make him question his family. Static cracked through the recording. Then, do not trust the man standing closest to him. The message ended. Michael was standing 3 feet from Adrian. His face changed. Adrian's didn't. My heart hammered. Then another phone rang. Michael answered, listened, went pale. Boss. Someone just tried accessing Rebecca's sealed archive. Adrian rose. From where? Michael swallowed. Inside this house. Adrian looked toward the security camera above us. Then the lights went out. In the darkness, I heard his voice. Low. Controlled. Claire. Yes. Get behind me. A gunshot shattered the window. A guard near the doorway dropped with blood spreading across his shoulder. And somewhere inside Adrian Cole's mansion, someone started unlocking the doors. Someone inside your house just tried to kill me. No. Adrian said in the darkness. Glass cracked beneath his shoes. They tried to kill the truth. Emergency lights flooded the study red. Michael moved first, drawing his weapon and speaking into his radio. East corridor compromised. Seal the lower floor. Adrian didn't chase the shooter. He looked at the open doors. Someone wanted him angry. Reactive. Instead, he became quieter. Who controls the security override? For people, Michael answered. Make it one. Within minutes, Adrian had the estate locked down, the wounded guard treated, and every access log copied before anyone could erase it. The shot had missed me by inches. That wasn't luck. I had moved when Adrian told me to. I hated realizing I trusted his voice. Michael restored power while I reopened my mother's voicemail. The archive, I whispered. What archive? Adrian asked. My mother had used that word deliberately. Then I remembered the numbers written behind the Polaroid. They weren't only transaction dates. Every fourth number formed something else. A password. Michael found an encrypted cloud account registered under Rebecca Bennett. 17 years of silence opened on a laptop screen. There was one video. I pressed play. My mother appeared older than in the photographs. Tired. Terrified. If you're watching this, Claire, then I failed to keep the past buried. My throat tightened. Adrian stood beside me. Daniel discovered Victor was stealing from the Cole organization. She continued. Victor used Marconi intermediaries to hide the money. Daniel planned to expose him. Adrian didn't move. Victor found out. My mother looked directly into the camera. The night Daniel died, I learned the route Adrian's driver had been given was part of the attack. I changed it. Adrian inhaled. Barely. I sent the boy home through Lakeshore instead. I turned toward him. He stared at my mother. I was supposed to be with my father, he whispered. Rebecca had saved him. The woman he had never remembered had changed one road and kept him alive. The video continued. I couldn't save Daniel. So I took the evidence and ran. Her voice broke. Victor found me first. A photograph appeared on screen. Me. A baby in my mother's arms. He said if I spoke, my daughter would disappear before sunrise. My stomach turned cold. So I became Rebecca Bennett. I let my brother believe fear had won. Adrian closed his eyes. For 1 second. Then opened them again. Mafia Boss returned. What happens when you prove everything? I asked. Victor loses his accounts. His captains. His allies. And Victor. Adrian looked at me. People who betray me lose everything. That isn't what I asked. Silence. I needed to know whether truth would free him, or simply give his vengeance a name. Before he answered, Michael's phone erupted with alerts. 1, 3, 6. His face hardened. Boss, Southside Warehouse is under attack. Another message. 2 captains stopped answering. Another. Our Cicero accounts are being drained. Adrian walked to the map on the wall. No panic. No wasted movement. Freeze internal transfers. Move the river crews to Cicero. Call Russo and Bennett separately. Give each a different warehouse location. Michael understood immediately. Another leak test. Adrian pointed at the northern routes. Marconi expects us to defend the warehouses. We don't. Cut his logistics instead. That was when I saw his power clearly. He wasn't surviving a war. He was rearranging it. Michael's phone rang again. This time, he listened without speaking, then looked at me. Victor knows Claire accessed Rebecca's archive. Adrian turned. How? We found the outgoing transmission. Michael's voice lowered. Samuel Price's terminal. Adrian's longtime accountant. A second traitor. Then Michael wiped blood from his collar. There's more. Adrian waited. Victor just offered 3 coal territories to Marconi. Thunder rolled beyond the windows. And he gave them Claire's location. Adrian's face became terrifyingly calm. Move her. I stepped toward him. I'm not running again. His eyes met mine. Neither am I. Then every phone in the room lit up at once. Victor had begun his coup. Victor didn't keep Adrian alive out of mercy. He kept him alive because a frightened heir was easier to control than a dead one. My mother's final encrypted file appeared on the screen 12 minutes after the coup began. Outside, engines roared through the estate gates. Adrian was already commanding the war. Michael, secure Cicero. Freeze every account Samuel touched. Give Russo the north route. He turned. And tell Marconi I have 17 years of his family's payment records. Michael understood. You're forcing him to choose. I'm giving him a reason to survive. Adrian never raised his voice. Men simply moved when he spoke. I watched the Mafia Boss. Everyone feared dismantle Victor's alliance one decision at a time. Then my mother's file opened. A scanned letter. One paragraph stopped me cold. Victor needed Adrian alive. Daniel's captains would never follow Victor Hale. But they would follow Daniel Cole's grieving son, and Victor could stand behind him until the boy became a man. Adrian. He read it once. Nothing changed in his face. That frightened me. Victor hadn't merely murdered his father. He had spent 17 years shaping the orphan left behind. Adrian's phone rang. Victor. He answered. You finally found Rebecca's little insurance policy, Victor said. Where are you? A soft laugh. Still giving orders. Daniel did that when he was afraid. Adrian's eyes turned to ice. My father trusted you. And that killed him. Silence. Victor continued. I built you after he died. Every captain who respects you. Every enemy who fears you. I taught you what Daniel never understood. What? Family is only loyalty with better marketing. Adrian ended the call. I expected rage. Instead, he stared through the rain-dark window. He taught me to shoot, he said quietly. Taught me negotiations. Sat beside me at my father's funeral. I stepped closer. Then stopped letting him decide what kind of man you become. His eyes found mine. Something passed between us that had nothing to do with fear anymore. Then Michael returned. Marconi pulled his cruise from Victor. Brief relief. Exactly 3 seconds. But Samuel Price disappeared. Adrian turned. Michael placed access records on the desk. Samuel had copied Rebecca's archive. He had also overridden the estate security during the shooting. Michael enlarged the old photograph again and cross-checked the damaged figure against archived Cole personnel files. The lion emblem was not Marconi after all. It belonged to an old Cole accounting society Daniel had used as a front. A surviving payroll photograph showed Samuel wearing the same coat and ring 17 years earlier. The second figure was Samuel. The clue had been in front of us. We had read it wrong. Victor and Samuel, I whispered. From the beginning, Adrian said. Michael's radio crackled. A guard shouted. Then static. The lights flickered. Adrian reached for me. Too late. Smoke exploded through the hallway. I couldn't see. Later I would learn Samuel had reopened a sealed service corridor and let Victor's men inside before Michael reduced the security override to a single terminal. Someone grabbed my coat. I drove my elbow backward and heard a grunt, but another pair of hands caught me. Adrian. A gunshot. Footsteps. Then a cloth covered my mouth. The world tilted. The last thing I saw was Adrian coming through the smoke. Not shouting. Not panicking. Just terrifyingly focused. When I opened my eyes, my wrists were bound. An abandoned printing warehouse surrounded me. I recognized it immediately. It was in my mother's photographs. Victor sat across from me. His signet ring caught the light. You look like Rebecca when you're angry. I pulled against the restraints. You were afraid of her. His smile disappeared. She forgot her place. No, I stared at him. She knew yours. His phone rang. Victor answered on speaker. Adrian's voice came through. Let her go. Victor smiled. Your father chose his empire over family. He looked directly at me. Now I want to know what his son chooses. Adrian was silent for 2 heartbeats. Then, you still think I have to choose. Victor's smile faded. Outside the warehouse, engines began surrounding the building. Adrian spoke again. You should have checked who still works for you. You should have checked who still works for you. Adrian's words came through Victor's phone seconds before the warehouse lights died. Victor stood. What did you do? Outside, engines stopped one after another. Not chaos. Positioning. Adrian had surrounded us. Victor grabbed my shoulder. Samuel. No answer. His phone vibrated. Then again. Messages flooded the screen. I caught fragments. North Star frozen. Russo with Cole. Marconi withdrew. Victor's face changed. Adrian hadn't come here to fight his way inside. He had destroyed Victor before arriving. The side door opened. Adrian stepped through alone. Black coat, wet from rain. Steel gray eyes fixed on Victor. Where are your men? Victor asked. Some left when they saw Rebecca's records. Adrian took another step. Some left when Marconi learned you planned to betray him. Another. The rest discovered you stopped paying them 20 minutes ago. Victor's grip tightened on me. You froze my accounts. I froze my money. That was the difference. Victor had spent 17 years stealing pieces of Adrian's empire. Tonight Adrian took them back. Victor pulled a gun and pressed it against my ribs. Adrian stopped. For the first time, I saw what Victor wanted. Not escape. Proof. He wanted Adrian furious. Uncontrolled. Exactly the man Victor had spent 17 years creating. Your father made the same mistake, Victor said. He thought loyalty was love. You murdered him. I improved what he built. You hid behind a grieving 18-year-old heir. Victor's face twisted. I made you. Adrian became very still. No, his eyes moved to me. She showed me what you made me forget. Victor raised the gun. I remembered the warehouse plans inside Rebecca's files. Printing facilities required emergency fire barriers between production sections. The manual switch was behind me. 3 feet. Maybe less. I shifted my chair. Victor noticed. Don't. I kicked backward. My heel struck the red lever. Metal shutters crashed from the ceiling. Victor flinched. That second was enough. I threw myself sideways. The gun fired into concrete. Adrian crossed the distance before Victor recovered. One strike. The weapon hit the floor. Victor collapsed against the printing press. Adrian picked up the gun, pointed it at him. Everything stopped. Victor smiled through blood on his lip. There he is. Adrian's finger rested against the trigger. Do it. I watched him. Not because I feared Victor anymore. Because I feared what killing him would leave inside Adrian. Adrian. His eyes flicked toward me. Victor laughed. She's watching. Is that why you hesitate? Adrian looked back at the man who had murdered his father, threatened my mother, manipulated him for 17 years. Then he lowered the gun. Victor's smile vanished. You already took 17 years from me, Adrian said. His voice was quiet. You don't get another second. Michael entered with loyal coal men. Victor finally looked afraid. Adrian handed him the weapon. Take him. No execution. No rage. Victor would live long enough to watch every account, ally and secret become evidence against him. Outside, rain cooled my face. Adrian cut the restraints from my wrists himself. Why didn't you kill him? I asked. Because you were watching. My chest tightened. You wanted my approval? No, he looked at me. For the first time, I cared what kind of man I would be after the war. Michael approached carrying Daniel's suitcase. There's something else. Michael set the suitcase down and pressed the warped brass corner where the burned ledger had rested. A thin wooden false bottom released with a click. A compartment the damaged lining had concealed even when I cut through the fabric. Inside was an envelope. My name was written across it. For Claire, when you finally meet Adrian. My hands went cold. Adrian stared at the handwriting. I opened the envelope. The first sentence erased every breath from my body. Claire, there is one final truth I never told you about the Cole family. Beneath the letter was an old birth certificate, preserved flat inside wax paper. And beside my mother's name was the name of Claire Bennett's biological father. My father's name was Daniel Cole. For several seconds, I thought I had read it wrong. Rain whispered against the warehouse roof while I stared at the birth certificate. Claire Rebecca Hale. Mother, Rebecca Hale. Father, Daniel Cole. I looked at Adrian. He had gone completely still. No, I whispered. Then I understood what the date meant. I was 28. Adrian was 35. Daniel had fathered me years before his death. Adrian wasn't the dangerous stranger my mother had prepared me to find. He was my brother. Every fragile feeling I had mistaken for the beginning of something romantic shattered instantly, replaced by something stranger, heavier, and somehow more profound. Family. Adrian took the letter. Rebecca's final words explained everything. Daniel and my mother had shared a brief relationship years before Victor's betrayal. When I was born, Daniel kept my existence hidden because enemies could use an unacknowledged cold daughter against him. Rebecca accepted the secrecy until Victor discovered it. Then everything changed. Victor hadn't threatened me merely because my mother possessed evidence. He had threatened me because Daniel Cole had another child, another blood heir, another person who could someday challenge the future Victor intended to control through Adrian. That was why my mother disappeared, why she changed both our names, why she kept Daniel's suitcase, why Victor looked at me like a ghost. Adrian finished reading. So he knew. Victor, He nodded. All 17 years. Another truth settled between us. Victor had not simply manipulated Adrian's grief. He had erased his sister. Adrian looked toward the warehouse, where Michael's men were taking Victor away. For one terrifying second, I expected him to follow. He didn't. He folded Rebecca's letter carefully. He wanted me angry. Yes. He built half his power on knowing exactly what I would do when I was angry. I looked at him. So disappoint him. Adrian almost smiled. Months passed. Victor's network collapsed faster than anyone expected. Samuel Price's records exposed the stolen accounts. Rebecca's ledgers proved the original conspiracy. Marconi accepted a cold peace after Adrian made it clear another war would cost both families more than either could gain. Adrian remained what he had always been. The Mafia Boss. Powerful. Feared. Controlled. But something had changed. He stopped confusing revenge with strength. I returned to my restoration studio. I wanted no territory. No money. No place in the coal organization. Adrian never asked me to take one. That mattered. One rainy evening, the bell above my studio door rang. Adrian entered alone. He placed Daniel's old Polaroid on my desk. Restored. Daniel. Rebecca. Victor. The photograph that had once looked like evidence now looked like the beginning of a family destroyed by secrets. You fixed it, I said. I hired someone. I'm offended. You were busy. That almost made me laugh. Then Adrian handed me my mother's silver locket. Inside, beneath the old engraving, he had discovered another inscription, so faint it only appeared after cleaning. A C. I traced the letters with my thumb. Adrian looked at me, and neither of us needed them explained. My mother had carried the possibility of both of us all along. She knew someday we'd meet. I whispered. Adrian nodded. And she trusted you to finish what she couldn't. I looked at the man Chicago feared. You know I'm still not afraid of you. I know. Does that bother you? His eyes held mine. No, a pause. It reminds me I have a sister. Outside, rain covered Chicago in silver. I had arrived at his gate as a stranger carrying a suitcase full of secrets. I thought the greatest secret would destroy his empire. Instead, it destroyed the lie that had built it. Victor believed blood created weakness. My mother knew better. Blood meant nothing without choice. Trust meant nothing without truth. And power meant nothing if fear was the only thing holding it together. Adrian Cole ruled Chicago because men feared what he could do. I became his family because I saw what he chose not to do. He was the Mafia Boss everyone knew. I was the stranger he never expected. And my mother's secret changed us both.